They say love is simple, but if that were true, why do the deepest connections feel like cosmic puzzles instead of fairy tales? The truth is, the kind of love Jung spoke about doesn't arrive to entertain you. It arrives to evolve you. It's not the romance that fits neatly into your expectations. It's the one that rearranges your entire sense of self. You meet someone, and suddenly your dreams get louder, your insecurities more exposed, your intuition sharper. It's not chaos, it's awakening. Because the one meant for you doesn't just hold your hand, they hold up a mirror. And in that reflection, you don't just find love, you find yourself. There comes a moment in life when someone enters the room and it feels like time exhales. It's not fireworks or violins, it's recognition, a quiet, "Ah, there you are." True love doesn't just sweep someone off their feet, it reveals the parts of themselves they forgot existed. Jung would say that this person becomes the mirror through which the unconscious whispers its secrets. Every laugh, every irritation, every spark of jealousy reflects something deeper waiting to be seen. What most people call chemistry is often the soul's way of saying, "Pay attention." That magnetic pull isn't random attraction, it's energy-seeking completion. The mind might rationalize it, but the heart feels it first. That strange familiarity, as if the person carries pieces of your forgotten dreams. Through them, the unconscious peeks out, hoping you'll notice the resemblance between your own fears and their imperfections. The connection becomes a living classroom where love and awareness intertwine. The funny thing is, this mirror doesn't always flatter. Sometimes it shows the wrinkles of our pride, the scars of our old stories, the insecurities we swore we outgrew. Yet, isn't that the point? You can't polish the diamond without a little friction. Real love isn't designed to inflate the ego. It's meant to illuminate it. That's why some relationships feel like déjà vu. They're unfinished chapters of self-recognition waiting for your signature. When two souls meet with that kind of intensity, it's not a coincidence. It's a call to awaken. The one who mirrors you becomes both teacher and student in the same breath. Together you learn to hold the light and shadow without judgment. And when that reflection begins to feel almost supernatural, as if the universe itself orchestrated it, you start to sense something larger moving beneath the surface, something that whispers of alignment and destiny, leading naturally into the next mystery. Some people call it luck, others call it divine timing, but Jung called it synchronicity. It's that inexplicable series of events that make you wonder if the universe is winking at you. You think of someone, and they text. You walk into a cafe you never visit, and there they are, smiling like destiny itself had your GPS. These aren't coincidences. They're cosmic breadcrumbs leading you toward deeper awareness. Every meeting carries meaning, especially the ones that shake your world gently but profoundly. When love arrives through synchronicity, it often feels like life's puzzle pieces finally click. There's no rush, no logic, no checklist, just a quiet certainty that this person belongs in your story. Jung saw this as evidence that our inner world and outer world are intertwined, that the psyche and the universe dance to the same rhythm. And sometimes that rhythm takes the form of two souls crossing paths at the exact frequency where healing, growth, and destiny intersect. Of course, the ego will try to reason it away. It's just coincidence, it says, pretending not to notice the perfect timing. But the heart knows better. True destiny doesn't shout. It whispers through patterns and alignment. The deeper you trust that rhythm, the more the universe seems to rearrange itself in your favor. That's the paradox. The more conscious you become, the more the invisible becomes obvious. When two paths converge through such divine timing, it's rarely just for romance. It's about evolution. Two souls walking side by side through a landscape sculpted by fate. Every sign, every encounter, every moment of déjà vu becomes part of a greater design. And once you taste that kind of alignment, you realize that love isn't meant to keep you comfortable. It's meant to change your chemistry entirely, a kind of emotional alchemy that begins quietly, like fire under gold. Real love doesn't just make life prettier, it makes it realer. When you truly open your heart to another, you're not just blending emotions, you're blending worlds. Jung would say that such love acts like fire in the forge of the soul, burning away illusions and melting false identities until only authenticity remains. It's not the kind of connection that flatters your comfort zone. It's the kind that asks, are you ready to meet who you really are? This transformation often begins subtly. One day you realize you're more patient, or more honest, or simply more aware of how you respond to life. You start to see that love isn't about possession, it's about reflection and refinement. Every argument, every misunderstanding becomes an invitation to grow. It's like turning emotional lead into spiritual gold. The heat of the relationship becomes the sacred fire that forges two souls into something purer than either could be alone. But here's the thing most people miss. This process isn't always comfortable. Transformation rarely feels like a warm hug. Sometimes it feels like being stripped bare. Yet there's beauty in that rawness. You start realizing that your vulnerability is your superpower. When two people can stand in their truth, even trembling, they stop needing perfection and start craving presence. That's when love moves from chemistry to consciousness, from desire to devotion. And just when you think the transformation is complete, love surprises you again. It reveals that growth isn't a destination, it's a rhythm, an ebb and flow of discovery. The person who challenges you most becomes the person who liberates you most. And that liberation doesn't come from escaping the shadows, but embracing them. Because that's where the next stage of love begins. The shadow dance that teaches you why true love always stirs what's been hidden. It's a strange thing. The moment you meet someone who truly matters, your oldest fears start knocking at the door. Not because the person is wrong for you, but because your soul finally feels safe enough to heal. Jung called this the meeting of shadows, the unseen sides of ourselves that come alive in love. Suddenly, small things feel enormous. A delayed text feels like rejection. A glance feels like judgment. But these reactions aren't about the other person. They're echoes of old wounds, asking to be seen. When love gets real, the masks fall fast. You stop performing and start revealing. The parts of you that once hid behind pride or fear now show their faces, trembling but honest. And here's the twist. Your partner's doing the same thing. Two unconscious worlds start bumping into each other, and that friction can feel like chaos. Yet within that chaos lies profound potential. Because love that triggers you is love that invites you to wake up. Most people run when this happens. They think, if it hurts, it can't be right. But growth doesn't always come with comfort. It comes with clarity. The person who challenges your peace is often the one refining your power. Every argument becomes a mirror, every discomfort a teacher. When you choose not to project your pain, but to own it, love shifts from emotional survival to spiritual partnership. You stop blaming and start integrating. The beauty of this dance is that no one leads. It's a mutual unfolding. As you face your shadows together, compassion replaces control. You realize that healing isn't about fixing the other, but seeing yourself through their eyes. That's when love matures, when the emotional noise quiets, and you start feeling something deeper than words. A resonance, a harmony, a sense that beneath it all, your souls already know this rhythm by heart. Some connections defy explanation. You meet someone, exchange a few words, and something within you exhales, as if it's been waiting for this exact frequency all along. Jung would say it's not just attraction, it's resonance, a vibrational harmony between two souls that recognize each other beyond time and logic. You don't need to fill the silence because the silence itself feels full. It's not about shared hobbies or surface similarities. It's about being seen in a way that feels ancient, as if your energy finally met its echo. What's fascinating about soul resonance is that it can't be forced. You can't fake alignment, you can only recognize it. The moment it happens, it feels like the space between you bends slightly, as though reality itself makes room for the two of you. You speak the same unspoken language, not of words, but of energy, presence, and understanding. Even distance or time doesn't weaken it. The connection hums beneath everything, quiet but undeniable. People often describe this as love at first sight, but Jung would argue it's more like remembrance. Your consciousness recognizes something the mind forgot, an unfinished melody, a familiar vibration. That's why the feeling is both exhilarating and terrifying. It's not that you've just met, it's that you found a reflection of your deeper self. That level of resonance pulls you into truth, stripping away pretense until only authenticity remains. And when that harmony deepens, you start to sense that love is more than romance. It's spiritual calibration. You don't complete each other. You remind each other of who you are. You begin to notice that the traits you adore in them mirror the aspects you're awakening in yourself. It's in this energetic balance that the next stage of love unfolds, where attraction becomes alignment and inner harmony reflects outward in ways that transform everything you thought you knew about connection. Every soul carries both masculine and feminine energies, not as genders, but as forces. Jung called them the anima and animus, and they live within each of us like two instruments tuning toward harmony. When you meet the one, it's often because they embody the qualities your soul is yearning to integrate. The calm, grounded person who enters your whirlwind life isn't just a partner. They're the reflection of your inner stillness, calling you home. The attraction feels magnetic because, on a spiritual level, you're meeting yourself in another form. This dance of energies creates both fascination and friction. You might be drawn to someone who seems to possess what you lack: confidence, sensitivity, creativity, discipline. But the truth is, those traits already exist within you, dormant but ready to awaken. Through the relationship, you begin to borrow their qualities until you realize they were never theirs to begin with. Love becomes the mirror through which your inner masculine learns to hold space, and your inner feminine learns to trust. That's why balance matters more than perfection. If one leads too much, the dance loses rhythm. The goal isn't dominance or dependence, it's dialogue, a sacred exchange between the two halves of the psyche. The more you understand this dynamic, the less you need to control it. You stop chasing validation and start cultivating equilibrium. In that moment, love matures from emotional intensity to spiritual coherence. It's not about possession anymore. It's about partnership in evolution. When that balance starts to take shape, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel whole. The relationship stops being a need and becomes a choice. And from that inner union, everything expands outward. Peace, purpose, and a sense of alignment that feels eternal. It's in this state of integration that love transcends the personal and becomes the universal, where you sense that the person beside you isn't just your partner, but the living bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. At some point, every deep connection reveals its true purpose, not to fill your emptiness, but to awaken your wholeness. Jung believed that love, in its highest form, isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about discovering yourself through the presence of another. The bond that feels destined isn't a trap of dependency, it's a thread that guides you home. The person you love becomes the mirror through which your own divinity remembers its reflection. That's why the deepest love stories don't end in possession, they evolve into purpose. You start realizing that love isn't meant to rescue you, it's meant to raise you. Every shared silence, every vulnerable confession, every tear shed together becomes sacred ground for transformation. The energy between two souls becomes a living current, one that pushes both toward their higher selves. You stop asking, "How can I keep this?" and start asking, "How can I grow through this?" That subtle shift turns romance into revelation. True love is timeless because it's rooted in consciousness, not circumstance. When two people evolve together, their connection becomes an echo through eternity. A melody the soul recognizes long after the body forgets. Even when life changes form, the essence remains. You sense it in dreams, in synchronicities, in that invisible pull that reminds you love never really leaves. It just transforms into wisdom, grace, and presence. And when you finally understand that, love becomes freedom. You no longer cling, you flow. You love without fear because you've realized that every connection is an invitation to awaken, to integrate, to return to the self. The one was never just another person. They were the living compass, pointing you back to your own center. And that understanding opens a new doorway, the invitation to share what you've found, not as a seeker anymore, but as a teacher of your own awakening. So now that you've seen these 7 signs, take a moment to ask yourself, what kind of love are you really living? The kind that soothes your fears, or the kind that stirs your soul awake? Jung would remind you that love isn't just an emotion. It's a spiritual laboratory where consciousness meets its own reflection. Every time you love with awareness, you rewrite your story, not to chase completion, but to embody wholeness. Look at your relationships through new eyes. Are they pulling you closer to your authentic self or further from it? The love of your life isn't always the one who stays. Sometimes it's the one who teaches you how to stay with yourself. And maybe that's the greatest truth of all. The heart doesn't search for ownership, it searches for recognition. When it finds it, you don't just fall in love, you rise into it. So if this message stirred something in you, if it made you reflect, question, or feel seen, that's your cue to act. Continue your journey with us. Explore your inner world and awaken the wisdom that's already waiting within you. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep diving deeper into the mysteries of love, consciousness, and the soul. Your evolution has already begun. All you have to do is follow where it leads.